Hello everybody and welcome to my TrampSlide Druid guide. It is my hope that after this you will have a nice strong build to start progressing through nightmare dungeons, speed farm, and to really do whatever you want. So if you want to learn how to do things like this, stick around and keep watching. And with that being said, let's get right on into the build. Alrighty, let's go ahead and hop into the skills and gear. So first off, we have Primal Bassinet of Mending Stone. This is going to buff up your Earthen Bulwark. It's going to increase its duration by 6 seconds, and kills are going to replenish your active shield, so that's going to be pretty solid. Then we have Basic Skills grant 20% damage reduction for 3.5 seconds. Then we have Attacking enemies with a basic skill increases the damage of your next core skill cast by 5% up to 30%. Then we have 0.25% increased armor for 4 seconds when you deal any form of damage, stacking up to 25%. And then when you have 4 to 5, your earth skills gain +2 ranks. Now for the big hitter, we're going to have Trample now summon 6 landslide pillars of earth during its normal during its duration that deal 158% normal damage. Trample is now also a nature magic and an earth skill. Then we're going to go Landslide's Earth Pillars, each strike a second time and deal an additional 11% bonus damage per hit. Now, if I am not mistaken, it makes the most sense to have this on the weapon and this on the amulet, or even take this off the amulet, put it on a ring, and then put the Aspect of Retaliation onto the amulet. Aspect of Retaliation is the legendary that says you deal up to 20 to 40% more damage based on the amount of Fortify you have. The reason for that is because this is not a multiplicative damage buff. I believe this is. So, yeah. If I'm not mistaken, that should be the best way to put those on. Then we're going to have Earth Skills deal 36% more critical strike damage to crowd-controlled enemies. You're going to be critting all the time, so it's going to be pretty good. And then you're going to have distant enemies have an 8% chance to be stunned for 2 seconds. When they hit you, you deal 36% increased damage to stunned enemies. Now, I personally think switching this to Retaliation is probably pretty good, but this rolled decently well, and I haven't actually found a Retaliation that's rolled worth a crap. So, yeah, here we are with this thing, but that's okay. But once I find one, I'll be probably swapping that out. We do run Petrify, so you are able to proc that extra damage a decent amount. So, skill tree. We're going to go Storm Strike, Enhanced Storm Strike, Fierce Storm Strike. This is going to give you Immobilize and Vulnerable. We're going to go Landslide, we're going to go Enhanced Landslide, and we're going to go Primal Landslide. So whenever you immobilize or stun an enemy, you're going to gain a stack of this stuff, and it's going to make your next Landslide a guaranteed crit that does increase critical strike damage. Also, whenever you're fighting bosses, just by hitting them with Landslide, you have a 10% chance to gain a Terra Mote. However, this bosses with ads is better to deal with. Now we have Basic Skills generate 18% more Spirit, and Core Skills cost 9 more Spirit but deal 15% increased damage, and I just took this just to access these. So 15% increased damage and more Spirit generation, just to try to offset that 9% more Spirit. Then we have Earthen Bulwark for defensive. We have Enhanced Earthen Bulwark, so this is going to make it so if you get CC'd, you can just press this and it'll make you unstoppable. Then we have this, so it will fortify you for 18% of your base life. This will help get your fortify up to keep your fortify damage bonuses open, because we have one down here. Then we have Nature's Reach, so if they are distant and immobilized, it does 18% increased damage, or if they are just distant, it's going to do 9% increased damage. Poison Creeper, Enhanced Poison Creeper, and Brutal Poison Creeper. This is going to give you increased crit chance, and a big part of the reason we run Poison Creeper is also for the Paragon. So whenever we do get to the point where we need it, we can benefit from this. When there's 3 or more poison enemies nearby, you deal 45% increased damage. Whoop. Alright, so that being said, going down to here, we're going to take Trample, we're going to take Enhanced Trample, and Natural Trample. This is going to give you a burst of Fortify, and your Trample is going to do a decent chunk of damage, and this is also going to be what casts your Landslide. Earth Skills deal 15% increased damage to slowed, stunned, immobilized, or knocked back enemies. Safeguard, so you can get Fortify on crits with your Earth Skills. And then Stone Guard, while you have over Fortify for over 50% of your max life, your Earth Skills deal 12% increased damage. Then we're going to come down here, we're going to have Petrify, we're going to have Prime Petrify, and Supreme Petrify. So whenever you kill stuff, it's going to replenish your spirit like crazy. And it's also going to be a nice 50% critical strike damage buff against bosses for 7 seconds. So, and I will show you kind of how to use that, I guess, in the bosses. You mainly want to play around stagger with the bosses. So, Defiance, 12% increased damage to elites. Then we have your Earth skills deal 12% increased damage to vulnerable enemies. And then 18% increased damage to your Earth skills as long as you cast the Earth skill after a Storm skill. So you want to make sure you're weaving your Storm Strike in there. And then we're going to go Earthen Might. You could go Earthsheen Strength as well because it's just a 30% increased damage buff while you're healthy. But I like this one because it's just fun. Restore all your spirit and cause your attacks to be guaranteed critical strikes for 5 seconds. There's only 5% chance for this to happen, and it's only with Earth skills. But if you crit, this goes up to 15%, and if the target is stunned, immobilized, knocked back, this goes up to 15%. Okay, that's it for the skills. Also, if I still have 6 skill points that I need to do, but I'd probably max out Trample, maybe max out Earthen Bulwark with it. And then if you don't find yourself really casting from distance, you can also take this out and put it somewhere else as well, just to get some more added flexibility. So yeah, for Paragon, gonna go Earth skills deal 30% increased damage to enemies afflicted by crowd control. While you're in Werebear form, you deal 1% increased damage up to 50% for every 1% difference in life. So you're gonna want this. You're definitely going to want this. You're definitely going to want Earthen Devastation. Heightened Malice you're going to want because you have Poison Creeper. Then after that you're going to want this one, Ancestral Guides. And that should be about 4. That right there should be like the 4th one. So you're not really, yeah, it's like, so you're not really going to be able to go past that. Like, you're going to maybe be able to make use of 3, maybe 4 Paragon boards. I wouldn't worry too much about this. We're still early in the game, but these are the boards that I would use for this build. I'm just letting you know on that. And then in terms of glyphs, damage while fortified is good. There's also damage while healthy is good. I mean, really just do the ones that make sense for you and your play style. It's not really, the glyphs really aren't rocket science. You just want to make sure that you level them up at the end of Nightmare Dungeons. And then you have one down here, increased damage while in Werebear form. That's pretty good. Increased damage to poison targets, that's good, but you want to take the ones you can keep up consistently first, so like this and this, because you know we can stay fortified, we know we can stay healthy, but we know Poison Creeper only lasts for a certain amount of time, and they're not necessarily going to be poisoned all the time, so taking the poison targets one is going to be one you would take later. You know, this one right here, damage to close targets, we know whenever we trample we'll get pretty close to something, so that's pretty good. 16% increased physical damage to non-elites and boss monsters. That could be pretty good. Yep. And then if you're not familiar how glyphs work, so when you put them into a glyph socket, it says for every 5 intelligence purchased within range, you deal 3.6% increased damage. The range is this red box, and this range is going to increase once you level this up to 15. So like right now you can see I only have 17 of 25. Well, that's actually because there is not enough intelligence currently in this node to actually hit this, but once the radius increases, then I will have access to another 10 intelligence. So that's kind of the way this works. You don't really get these additional bonuses until you actually level up the glyphs, and you level up the glyphs by doing Nightmare Dungeons, and at the end of a Nightmare Dungeon you can level up the glyph. Alright, so that's that. Let's go ahead and hop into some gameplay so you can see this bad boy. Alright, let's go ahead and hop right into some action here. So as you can see, just trample, try to catch as many things in your trample as you can. Thing to note, your trample does kind of cast the landslide behind it, so you need to be thinking about that whenever you're kind of positioning. The best thing to do is if you can get them into like a wall and whatnot, it's going to be crazy good if you can just trample things into a wall. Now trample isn't your only way of casting landslide. You can mainly cast it, because you can see I'm just kind of blowing up these elites, but you want to make sure that as you're casting it, you're doing a storm strike in between it, so you can make sure you're proccing your resonance. But yeah, you know, you can see that the manual cast is just as effective as the trample cast. The trample is just better at clearing out big packs of enemies, whereas, you know, it's easier to focus things down when you manually cast it. I believe this is a tier 2 Nightmare Dungeon. The highest I've done is an 11 so far, and if you're not familiar with how it works, it really just increases the level of the monster. So if you go to like a tier 11, they'll be like 11 levels higher than you or something like that. So like I was doing a tier 11 and everything in it was like level 65, I think. And I don't know if it goes based off your level and just goes 11 levels higher. I want to say that like a tier 11 is just means all the enemies are going to be 65, and you'll just need to make sure you're at least level 65 if you want to be at level for that. But you don't really need to do that. You can definitely punch a little bit higher with this build, especially if you get everything together and once you really start practicing it, because it doesn't seem like when you get more people in there that it even increases their health or anything like that. Yeah, now you can see me doing the classic dungeon thing here of, oh yeah, that one way that I didn't go is the way that I needed to go. Makes sense, you know. But you'll have that sometimes. But yeah, so just make sure, whenever you're attacking an elite though, try not to trample them directly. Like you can, but if you end up just kind of knocking them out of your big landslide procs, it kind of sucks. But it's not that big of a deal because normally elites have like a bunch of mobs around them. So when you trample the elite, you might knock the elite out, but you're still going to clear out all the mobs and stuff like that. Now, a way I've been liking playing this as of late is I kind of just run through the dungeon, and I don't do this on slay all enemy ones, mainly because if you do this on slay all enemy ones, you'll miss some of them. But what I do is I try to get as many things to follow me as I can, and I kind of just keep moving, keep trampling, and they kind of just walk into your trample. So it's pretty cool. This is a pretty solid speed farming build, I would say, at least as far as what the druid can do. You know, because this is the first build that I was even able to put together. That's why I'm making the video on this one. It's because this is where all the drops take me. I've gotten so much landslide stuff, so it's like, alright, guess I'm playing a landslide druid to start out. You gotta go where the legendaries guide you. And you can see though, it's definitely not a bad thing. This is a fantastic build, just blowing stuff up. And the guy playing with me, you couldn't tell, is also playing a landslide druid because we both got the same. Oh, we both had the same luck on drops. I did just pick up a Mad Wolf's Glee there though. I was pretty stoked about that. So now we're just over here traveling to the boss, and I used to think that bosses were a struggle for landslide until I started using the stagger mechanic correctly. So I'll show you a little bit about how to do that. Now we were just kind of murdering this boss anyway, but you're gonna see once the stagger goes off, I hold my trample for it, and yeah, if you get a trample on a staggered boss, that is the damage. That is going to be the biggest chunk you're going to see, and that is really how you should play it. So like if your trample's about to come off CD, you really want to make sure you hold it so you can do stuff like this. Look at that. Alrighty, well, that's going to do it for this. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you guys next time. Enjoy the blasting.